Do you have an old alarm that looks like this? Would you like to upgrade it, even start a new one maybe? Welcome to the Gapster channel. Today we're going to talk about alarms, and specifically the Konnected Pro alarm panel. The Konnected Pro alarm panel can actually replace your old alarm and give it a new life. You can even keep your old alarm if you like and still give it a new life. So there's many options you can do. We're going to talk today about how I connected my alarm panel to and replaced my old dinosaur alarm, gave it a new life, integrated with the latest platforms, but mainly in this video we're going to talk about integrating into Smartthings, which is the easiest, and other platforms as well. It's an in-depth video, so it goes step by step how I installed everything from the beginning till the end. It may not be a perfect video because I started a little bit midway, but it does give you a lot of detail that you may need. Feel free to skip through parts that you know about, and you might be able to get some valuable information along the way. I bought the Konnected Alarm Panel Pro with my own money, so this is a video that's not influenced by anything. I am not connected to Konnected and so it's all what I feel about it, and it's my own basically review about it. This is the main board that comes with it, and there is a regular Connect where it has 6 zones, and the Konnect Pro has 12 zones, so but you could stack a few together to add more zones. So I got it from Amazon, so for $2.99 Canadian. You could also buy it direct. I think the price is roughly the same. So what do you get? You get 2 boxes. One box has the main board, and the other box has some basically some extras. You get a little screwdriver, a pen, some little wires, a little badge, some instructions, and also this is just a little tag, so you can tag your wires with the proper zones and what they're for. It's very handy. Forgot to mention, it also came with the power adapter. It's a 12-volt power adapter. So the power goes in the socket here, so you can plug it in. I thought I'll try it first to make sure everything's connecting before I just start, spending hours and hours working on it and realize it's not a good board or something. So the first thing is you have to use a phone basically and get a couple of apps. The first app you need to get is the Konnected app, and the second app you're going to get is something like Smartthings or Habitat. Oh, this one does not need a hub, it's all built in, so you can connect straight to Smartthings or Habitat or a couple others. The first thing I put it on my Connect app, it kept saying you need to update the software, you need to update the firmware, and press here and it will update. So I kept pressing, nothing's updating, nothing's updating. I was about to call and try to email to get some support, but then I was reading online that if you can't get it to update on the app, to do it manually, so you could update. So I went on the website, it shows how to update it manually basically. I did run into trouble trying to figure out where the information actually is. So after the closet, where my panel is, it's actually it's a DSC PC3000 that I actually have, and it's a typical old-fashioned alarm system. You get a whole bunch of sensors coming in, and you get your main board. This is a little power adapter for it. So it's fairly typical. It sounds daunting at the beginning, but it's actually not that bad once you realize what are the wires are. So usually on one side you've got all the zones. I happen to have 16 zones, and then on the other side you've got like the power plus and minus, and you've got couple other different because the battery and stuff like that. In my case, I debated about, because there's a system where you can actually keep your old alarm system and have them both working kind of together, and you have to buy more parts. And then after I thought about it quite a bit, and I said, well, really, what am I going to need this old alarm for? Technology is going to keep improving. If anything, we're just going to use a different system. So I opted for just starting from scratch. Well, not from scratch, you still have all your sensors, but getting rid of the board and actually using the Connect Pro board instead. Before you do anything, you need to label all your zones before you start pulling them up. So if you load them from 1 till, depends on how many zones you have, you might have 6 or 12 or 16 like myself. So you got to label all your zones. And a couple other things is, in general, the motion sensors have not just the zone wires, they also have power, they need power. So often they will have a red and black wire and goes connected to the power. So I would label those as well, maybe label them power for motion 1, power for motion 2 and stuff like that. And if you label everything from the beginning, then you're not going to get lost and everything is really straightforward. Also on the keypad you will notice that often if you on the lid you'll see that all the zones are labeled on which is which, and that should help you also when you label them. Don't just put zone 1. If you could put, let's say, zone 1 front door, zone 2 back door, and so on, and window, and this way you have a more understanding of what the zones are for. I would strongly recommend to verify the zones, so before you disable your alarm. So open, let's say if it says front door, open the front door, see is it actually working. Open the window. A, you want to see that the sensors are actually working, they're not defective. And B, you want to make sure that sometimes people mislabel things and you want to make sure it is correctly labeled. Once I verified all the zones, I wrote them down on the little stickers that came with the Pro. I think that's a very valuable thing. Zone 1. So first thing I'm going to do is label it. So put a label on it. There you go. So we labeled that. We're going to put it in zone 1 here. And this way will be less room for confusion and less room to get things messed up. The grounds are, every 2 of them have one common ground. Usually the grounds are all the same, but for sake of exercise we'll keep them close to each other. So here we go, we just did zone 1 and the ground for it. So I'm going to repeat this for the 16th zone. Now I don't have 16 zone on this one. There's 2 options. I could buy another Connect Pro, now I have 24 zones, or I could, often some of the zones could be grouped, like you really, some of the non-critical windows, let's say in your house, that are way on the 2nd or 3rd floor, whatever it is, they don't need to all have each individual zone. So you could say the bedroom 1 and 2 windows in one zone and so forth. And this way you could reduce the amount of zones without really making it too complicated. But what you do, you put the zones in series. And so what you put is, so you have your positive for one and the ground for the other, then you put the positive to the ground and then the other ground becomes positive. So you got basically 2 zones in series that become 1 zone. So if any of the 2 windows are open, the zone will turn, which is fine. It still works the same. It's just you won't know which particular window, but you really do we care. Anyway, so yeah, so that's one way to reduce the amount of zones. If you really say you buy a 12 zone, you have a 14 zone used, it's very easy to slim it down to less amount. So I'm not going to bore you with all 16 zones, so I'm going to do that and I'm going to come back. I forgot to mention that before you start working on your alarm is to disconnect the power from it. It will help. I mean, it's not very high power, you're not going to kill yourself in it, but it's common practice, and to avoid maybe you could introduce power into your new board and short that, so it's best to have no power in it. So what I'm going to do, usually there's a plug here. In this case there's a transformer with a couple wires, so I'm just going to unscrew this and take it out, and you can take one, it's fine. And also you got to disconnect the battery. These ones have battery connections, so otherwise there'll still be power in the board even if though it's disconnected. So once you disconnect the power from the wall and the battery, then your board is no longer powered. Sometimes you have a little plug in the wall here, you can unplug it, and that does the trick. I'm going to carry on from here. I'm going to take basically I'm going to start working on zone number 2 here. So I got halfway there. I just want to show you how to group zones together. Remember, I have 16 zones. I'm trying to make some fit into 12, so I have to group a couple of zones together. So I picked a couple doors and stuff like that, and some windows that could be grouped together. So here we have 2 zones. One has a green and yellow, another one has a green and yellow. So what you want to do, so you take one green and one yellow and you twist them together, and then you have your green and yellow that becomes ground, and this goes to one zone. You could also double check that there is a continuity between the whole soup. If you have like a tester, a continuity tester, and you can check here. And indeed they do continue between two. So it's basically looping through both of them. Make sure to write down every time you group zones what they are and where they're going. I just noticed actually in the packaging, accessory packaging, it comes with a nice pen on one side, and it's a bigger screwdriver on the other. Remember, I was complaining about the screwdriver was too small, so there's 2 sizes actually. So it's actually pretty good. It's pretty clever. It's kind of neat. Yeah. So I've been using that. I decided to fish network cable through the wall. I always prefer not to run things on wireless, especially for important things. Sometimes it's not the most dependable way. It doesn't always work, but if somehow you can, it will be probably better. But it does work on wireless if you can't. But if somehow you can do wired, go wired. So the first thing you want to do is download the Konnected app and put in your credentials into the Konnected clouds. You put in your name. You have to create a new account, and once you've done that, you should get this screen here. It should show Konnected Pro, and if you click on that, you will go into this screen. My problem is as soon as this screen got in, it gave me a warning: firmware update is required, and software update required, and it says press here to update. So I kept pressing and nothing. It says wait a minute. I waited many minutes and nothing happened. Did that a whole different times. Tried different phone to see maybe it's my phone, and there was nothing happening. I went online and I looked to see, and it talks about manual firmware update. So I went on the website and trying to see how to flash to update the firmware, and I was scrolling, and this is what you should not be doing. So I got caught up by say upgrading and updating. Okay, so I'm there, and then it says flashing connected firmware and software, and I clicked there, and this is not the stuff that relate to the Pro. I'm not sure what it's for, but this is that got me in trouble. I got different firmware that shouldn't have done. Then I went back and to the main page. You scroll a bit under recent articles. It says somewhere here. Where is it? Alarm panel Pro flashing firmware. This is the one you really need to go into. And I wish it was more like streamlined. I think what we need to do is have, this is the Connect Pro section. This is how to install it. This is, or if you go under support, you say support to which panel do you have, and from there it should take you to the proper thing. But it's kind of a little bit here and there, and I wish it a bit more streamlined the information. But once I use the proper drivers, and so went on this one here. And once I followed the instruction here, fairly clear instructions, it was good. I mean, all the instruction is very clear. It's just a matter of just finding it sometimes. But it takes a little bit trial and error. I think it's slightly, there's been a lot of work to make things clear, but I think there's some more would be even better. Also, a nice video from start to finish on how to install the Connect Pro. It's kind of, as of now, I don't see one that is nicely laid out. But other than that, I mean, it's just a couple of hurdles to get going. And once you get going, things seems to roll pretty nicely. So just gonna go back here, so back to the Konnected app. So once that's clear, well, we got this thing. What you want to do then next is install Smartthings. And once you install the Smartthings app, you go back into the Konnected app and you scroll down and you say Manage Zones. And from here you press Add Plus to add a zone. Let's say I'm going to do zone number, for example, 6. And zone type, it is actually Windows, so I'm going to put window, and then name, and here we'll just put the name, which is in my case Windows bedroom East, and from there you say save, and it saves. And you say sync device, successful, and once that's done, then you can add all your zones. I'm not going to do that now, and it says rebooting the device. Try in 5 to 10. It's very fast. It reboots super fast. Actually, literally 10 seconds. Here it is. It's back again, and we're going to go into Smartthings. This one allows commands. Just say OK. Alright, that's good, beautiful. Next, start. Okay, and the first thing you want to do is you want to sign in. If you haven't created an account yet, you should create an account. I've already created an account, so I'm going to sign in. Here I am, I'm signed in. Now it starts to wanting to find everything I have, and you can say allow. Would like to find connect devices on your local network. Okay. And so here we go. Next thing you want to do is you want to go into devices. And what you want to do, you want to say, you want to add device. I've already added them, but I'm just going to show how to. So you press on the plus, you say add devices, and then you're going to scroll down to Konnected. So let's go by brand. So it'll be in alphabetical order. That's Konnected with a K. Yeah, it should be up here somewhere. Here it is. And then you say other, and then you say Konnected. And you should see here all your sensors, assuming you've already entered them in Konnected app before. I showed you that before. So we entered all the sensors in there, and once you add there, then in Smartthings, now you're basically importing them into Smartthings, and you say done. And once you are done, you can then go back out, and you can go into so you can set them in different rooms. I've already, like I said, set them up, but if you haven't set them up, they'll go into an assigned room, and from there you'd say assign, and you assign them to each room. I put them all in a room called alarm system. It makes sense to try to keep everything organized that way. So now you can see all the sensors are here, and some of them are open, one motion, because I'm actually close to a motion sensor here, so it's triggering. So it's already working, and that works great. The other part I was a little bit lost about, okay, what do we do now? Like, okay, how do we make this an alarm system? And it took me a while because I had to look at some YouTube videos and some other info online. I couldn't find anything straight in Konnected video series, and this is where I wish where maybe Nate could do like a nice video. And I know he just did a beautiful video about how to run your system in parallel, but it would be nice to have one on the Connect Pro, and also on this integrating, let's say, with Smartthings. So like step from start to finish till where you actually integrate in Smartthings and actually have it working. And maybe another separate video, which is something I would like to do, in how to actually integrate in Home Assistant. I know it's not really a Home Assistant video tutorial, but it'll be nice for the product, because if people can integrate it easier in a system, they're more likely to buy it and to recommend it to their friends and family, because now we have a way to easily integrate it and not having to go through pages and videos and nights and looking for this person, how he did it. It'll be nice to have the manufacturer actually have proper videos. And this is like something new now, not new, like the last few years. Most companies now are shifting into more video tutorials. The written tutorials, they have a beautiful website on Konnected, and I think there's a lot of information. It's just having to find the time and going through it. But the video is always great because it just gives you that visual, and also there's not much clear info on how to get it into Smartthings till the end. Anyway, to make a story short, to make things easier, I'm going to show you how to do that. So basically what you want to do here, you want to go, I thought it was an automation, but Smartthings have updated their app since I think June or something like that. So now it's actually in life. So you go into life, and from there you are going to do, so you're going to add, to add Smartthings home monitors. So this is where you want to click on this one. I've already set it up, but you're supposed to go into Smart Home Monitor. You just follow the couple things they ask you, and it's from there. It's fairly straightforward. But knowing where to look was the trick, and it's actually, it will organize it for you, and it does pretty much everything. So at the end, you're pretty much all set up, and you basically, you're gonna have this thing. You can arm it arm away and this arm, just the basic functions. At least if you can get there, then the rest is easy. You can later on, if you want to do some more customization, that becomes something else, but at least you have gotten the basic customization to get you going into like an alarm, small alarm panel that actually works. I hope this helps and saves people a lot of grief and looking for information here and there. I know this is not a perfect video. I kind of started it midway after I was halfway in this putting it in, but I'm still glad I did. It'll probably still be useful to some people, but I'm still hoping that Natron Connect will make a really in-depth video on how to do it from start to finish, integrate into Smartthings, Habitat, Home Assistant, some of the big ones, and save us a lot of grief into trying to find things. Now that I have the system working and everything is looking good, it's time to clean up this mess and get rid of the old dinosaur board. Here it is, finally cleaned it up. It looks really nice. Got all the wires tidy up, the board mounted. The little legs comes with stickies and they work great actually. I know one of you said they weren't good, but for me they were really good, and it's pretty solid actually, so I wouldn't complain about that. Connecting the buzzer now, and I couldn't find any documentation where to connect the buzzer on the Connect Pro. I found one on the regular Connect and it says ground and output, so I assumed it's going to be ground and output 1 with a little plus here and a minus on the other side. So that will be the buzzer. You can actually, I could punch out a little hole here and put the buzzer outside. So I'm going to use one of the legs to help hold the buzzer on top there. So put this one through, this one should hold there. Just it'll stick better, but here it goes. So that's going there. Might as well close that. But a couple things I still don't know what they do. There's a button here that says output 2. I'm guessing you have a choice between output 1 or output 2, but I'm not sure why not both. And I know that is to put a relay as well. So, but just a couple things are a little bit unclear. Again, one more time, some more documentation on more streamlined from A to Z would be the best way to go. But the buzzer is working now, and I can test it. So, see. There you go, it's working. That's good. All right. So yeah, it's all nice. Nice to get rid of the old boards. It all looks clean. This looks good. And you can close it. And it comes with a nice, beautiful sticker. So I put it over the other one. So now we're connected. So looking good. One thing I wanted to say is I was trying to hook up the siren. I also have a strobe. And I never looked closely on the instructions, and I assumed that the alarm 1 and alarm 2 are actually the positive poles, but they are not. They are the negative pole. They're the ground. So when you mount the siren, one should be on the plus 12 volt and the other one should be on the alarm 1. So the siren goes from plus 12 volt to alarm 1. So those are negative poles. If you're doing 2 sirens, same thing, one on the plus volt and the other one is on alarm 2. So just don't make the mistake of what I did, doing them from the auxiliary to alarm. Into here. And here we go. We have backup power. Just going to organize it a little nicer. I'm using a couple of those sticky legs to actually secure my battery power back up, so one so it doesn't fall this way, and I'm going to put the other one in front of it, and that should lock it in two different directions. See, now it's there, it won't fall out easily, and you can still take it out if you want to. This is looking good too here. All in all, I think it's a really good system. I mean, there's some frustrations here and there in trying to get through the installation, but overall I think it's a pretty good system, way better than the dinosaur alarm that I had before. There's so many things you can do. You can customize so many options. It's a whole new world of customization. You can do things you could never do before. I can send notifications to my neighbors and my friends and all that stuff. I can control everything. There's so many things I can do. You can integrate it into more other layers of security systems for outdoors and many other areas as well. So it's an open system, so it's not all closed in. You can modify, you can customize it to the way you like it. It's a really good way to use up all the wiring. I mean, I have 16 zones. These are a lot of wiring. People in the past they must have spent a couple days just to wire all these sensors, I would say more. So that's a lot of hard work and lots of money that was invested into the hardware of the system. It would be a shame to throw that away. But now we gave it a new life. It's wired, which got good redundancy and a good structure, and it's not very volatile. And it's also modernized. With the Konnected Pro, I think they did a beautiful job designing the board and laying it out. We just need a little bit more instruction, I would say a lot more instructions, and especially videos from A to Z, nicely laid out from the very beginning till it's actually working on Smartthings and on Home Assistant. These are two major platforms. It will be nice to see how they got there, so we don't have to spend hours and days deciphering between many videos to get bits and pieces of information here and there. It would be nice to have it all laid out. And I think if we can make this simpler and easier and make it easy to install, we're going to have a lot more people on board. I'm all for supporting new startups and smaller companies than to support bigger companies that often try to rip you off left and right with subscriptions and this and that. And I think it is the way to go. So hopefully we'll see some more information. I think I've had it for a few days now, and I'm loving it, and I think it's a great system. If you like this video, and please subscribe, give me thumbs up. It will help the channel and keep promoting and making more videos.